In 2014, a 92-year-old janitor in Brattleboro, Vermont, died quietly in his home. His name was Ronald Red. He wore flannel shirts, he drove a used Toyota, he held his coat together with safety pins. Nobody, not his neighbors, not his friends, not even most of his family, had any idea what the lawyers were about to discover. $8 million. A janitor. The Ronald Read Rule changed how I think about wealth. And it's about to change how you think about it too. See, when Ronald Red's attorney started going through the estate paperwork, the numbers didn't make any sense. This was a man who pumped gas at a Brattleboro filling station for 25 years, then mopped floors at JCPenney for another 17. His biggest daily splurge was breakfast at the local coffee shop. Eggs, toast, coffee. And yet, hidden inside a brokerage account that almost nobody knew existed, sat 95 different stocks. Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan Chase, John Deere, CVS Health, J.M. Smucker, AT&T Bank of America, blue-chip companies that had been quietly paying him dividends for decades. And here's the detail that stunned me. Nobody in that small Vermont town knew. Not the people at the coffee shop, not his neighbors, not the co-workers who watched him push a mop at JCPenney 5 days a week. Ronald Red looked like a man who had nothing. He chose to look that way. Because for Ronald, looking wealthy was never the point. His story sounds impossible, but the math isn't complicated, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous to ignore. Because Ronald Red wasn't lucky, he was patient. And patience, it turns out, is the most underrated financial skill on the planet. Let me introduce you to Harry. He runs a printing press at a mid-sized commercial shop outside of Columbus, Ohio. Third shift mostly. Takes home $3,847 a month after taxes. Rents a one-bedroom apartment in an older brick building about 12 minutes from the plant. Drives a 2017 Honda Civic with 143,000 miles that still runs fine. Harry is not the person you'd look at and think, that guy's building wealth. But that's exactly the point. That's the reversal most people miss. Harry stumbled onto Ronald Read's story about 2 years ago. Someone shared a CNBC article in a group chat at work. Harry almost scrolled past it, but the headline stopped him. Something about a janitor and $8 million. He read the whole thing during his lunch break, and something about it hit different than any financial advice Harry had ever heard. It wasn't the 8 million. That felt like a number from a different universe. What got Harry was the simplicity of what Ronald Red actually did. No financial advisor, no MBA, no complicated option strategies or real estate empire. Ronald Red just bought shares of companies he recognized, companies he saw every day at the grocery store, at the gas station, on the signs he drove past. Then he held on to those shares, and he never stopped buying more. J.L. Collins describes this exact philosophy in his book, The Simple Path to Wealth. Collins calls it the single most effective wealth-building strategy available to ordinary people. Buy broadly. Hold patiently. Let time and compounding do the heavy lifting. Collins argues that the biggest threat to your money isn't a market crash. It isn't inflation. It isn't picking the wrong stock. The biggest threat is your own behavior. The urge to tinker when things feel slow. The urge to sell when the market drops 20%. The urge to chase whatever everyone's talking about this week. Ronald Red never chased anything, not once in 60 years. He bought 39 shares of Pacific Gas and Electric on January 13, 1959. Paid about $2,380 total when he died 55 years later. Those 39 shares alone were worth over $10,700. And that was just one of his 95 positions. He held companies across healthcare, telecommunications, utilities, rail transport, banking, and consumer goods. He diversified like a professional portfolio manager. Except he wasn't a professional anything. He was a janitor who read the newspaper and paid attention. Here's the part most people miss. And it's the part that changed everything for Harry. Ronald Red didn't build $8 million because he was a stock-picking genius. He built it because he never sold. Every quarter, those 95 companies sent him dividend checks. And every quarter, Ronald took those checks and bought more shares. More shares generated bigger dividends. Bigger dividends bought even more shares. The cycle fed itself for over 6 decades. Compounding did the work. Not brilliance, not insider knowledge, not a fancy degree. That's the Ronald Read Rule. And it only has 3 parts. Just 3. Part 1. Live below your means. Not in some extreme, eat rice and beans, never enjoy anything way. Ronald Read still went to breakfast every morning. He still drove a car. He just didn't care about looking like he had money. At his peak, Ronald probably earned around $25,000 a year. He spent maybe $18,000 or $19,000. The gap between earning and spending wasn't dramatic, but the gap was always there. Every single month, for 60 years. Part 2. Invest the gap. Not into a savings account earning 1.3%. Into ownership, stocks, index funds, assets that grow over time. Ronald Read bought individual dividend stocks because that's what was available to him and what he understood. Today, you don't even need to pick individual stocks. A single total stock market index fund gives you instant access to thousands of companies at once. That's what Harry realized. Part 3. Never stop. Not when the market crashes. Not when your car needs repairs. Not when your coworker pulls up in a brand new truck and you feel like you're falling behind. Ronald Read held through the crash of 1987, when the market dropped 22% in a single day. He held through the dot-com collapse in 2000. He held through 2008 when the financial system nearly fell apart and the market dropped over 50%. He didn't panic. He didn't sell. He kept buying, kept reinvesting, kept going. Now back to Harry. Harry took the Ronald Read Rule and translated it into his own life. He looked at his $3,847 monthly paycheck and asked one question. What's my gap? After rent at $875, car insurance at $141, phone at $63, groceries around $320, gas for the commute at about $190, and utilities at roughly $87. The basics came to about $1,676, and that left him with approximately $473 of breathing room. Not impressive, not life-changing, just a gap. Ronald Read's kind of gap. Harry downloaded a brokerage app. Took 11 minutes to set up. He picked a total stock market index fund, the kind J.L. Collins recommends. One fund. Entire market. Done. He set up an automatic investment of $200 every 2 weeks. Time to land the day after his direct deposit hit. He wanted the money gone before he could think about spending it. Month 1. Harry's portfolio balance read $400. He almost laughed. Seriously, what's $400 going to do? Month 3. $1,217. Still felt tiny, but something had shifted inside Harry's head. He checked his balance not because he was anxious, because he was curious. That's a different feeling entirely. Month 6 was when Harry almost broke the rule. His co-worker Derek rolled into the plant parking lot with a brand new pickup truck. Lifted suspension, leather interior, chrome everywhere. Monthly payment of $719 for the next 72 months. Derek made the exact same hourly rate as Harry. Same shift, same overtime. And Derek looked like he was winning at life. Harry sat in his 2017 Civic with the faded paint and felt it. The pull. That voice in your head that whispers, you work hard. You deserve something nice. Why are you driving this while Derek's living it up? That temptation is real. It's the exact moment where most people quit. They see someone else spending and they feel behind. And they close the investment app and open the car dealership website. The gap disappears. The rule breaks. That night, Harry almost did it. Almost opened a dealer page. But then he thought about Ronald Read walking through Brattleboro in a coat held together with safety pins, while sitting on $8 million. A man who chose invisible wealth over visible status, who chose freedom over a financed truck. Harry closed the browser tab, took a breath. Next morning, like clockwork, another $200 went into the index fund, automatically, no drama, no announcement, just the rule doing its job. By month 12, Harry's portfolio had crossed $5,113. Still modest. But here's where the math gets genuinely exciting. And this is the part Ronald Read understood better than anyone on Wall Street. The historical average annual return of the total U.S. stock market has been roughly 10% over long periods. If Harry keeps investing $200 every 2 weeks, $400 a month, and those long-term averages continue to hold, why his portfolio could potentially grow to over $57,000 in 10 years. In 20 years, that same $400 a month could become roughly $278,000. And in 30 years? Right when Harry starts thinking about what retirement actually looks like, the projections suggest something north of $780,000, from $400 a month, from a printing press operator who never made more than $47,000 a year. Ronald Read started with less. He earned less. He didn't have index funds. He had to build his diversification stock by stock, company by company, over 6 decades. And he still reached $8 million. Because he had the one thing most people refuse to give their money: time. Decades of it. Uninterrupted. Harry might not have 60 years, but he has tools Ronald Read never had. Instant diversification, zero commission trades, automatic investing. The mechanics are easier now than at any point in history. The only hard part, the only part that actually matters, is the same thing that was hard in 1959. The patience, the discipline to sit still while everyone around you is spending. Now here's what happened after Ronald Read died. This is the part that still gives me chills. He left $4.8 million to Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, the hospital in his tiny hometown, and $1.2 million to Brooks Memorial Library. That library had a total annual budget of $600,000. Ronald Read's donation doubled their entire endowment. Overnight, from a man who checked out books from that same library for decades, locked in clothes held together with safety pins. In 2022, the hospital opened the Ronald Read Pavilion, a $22.7 million expansion, partially funded by the quiet janitor who once mopped their hallways. His name is on the building now, not because he was famous, not because he was connected, because he followed 3 rules for 60 years and never told a soul. Think about that. A man who never earned more than $25,000 in a single year of his life, funded a hospital wing, left $6 million to his community, changed the trajectory of an entire library system. All because he understood one thing most people spend their whole lives ignoring. Wealth isn't about earning more. It's about keeping more, investing the difference, and having the patience to let time do what time does. Harry doesn't talk about his portfolio at work. Derek still has the truck. Derek also has the payments, the higher insurance, the depreciation eating away every month. A year from now, Derek's truck will probably be worth less than what he still owes on it. Harry's index fund? It keeps growing. Quietly, automatically. Like Ronald Read's 95 stocks sitting undisturbed in a brokerage account nobody knew about. In a small town in Vermont for 60 years. You don't need to be a genius to build wealth. You don't need a 6-figure salary. You don't need to pick the perfect stock or time the market. You need a gap between what you earn and what you spend. An account where that gap can grow. And one rule, the Ronald Read Rule, to tie it all together, and the patience. The stubborn, boring, unglamorous patience to leave it alone. Ronald Read proved it with $8 million in a mop. The question isn't whether the rule works. It's whether you'll follow it, or keep chasing the truck.